And I must also confess the feeling of dwarfness that I have in me in the immediate presence of the legal giants who have gathered here this evening. In fact, 2 months back, when the School of Law at Shastra University wanted to organize a program of this type, I suggested that we could have the name for the event as the Legal Kumbh Mela. But then it also occurred to me that you see, in Kumbh Mela also you can predict that it will happen once in 12 years. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't know at least, when will Chennai be able to host a gathering of this type, an aggregation of 300 years of judicial wisdom packed in one single stage? And the manifestation of that in physical form, ladies and gentlemen, makes this event so special.
The manner in which this has been done, as if overnight this bill was cooked up, and instead of being one bill, it was turned into 2 bills, about which you will hear more from people who have handled it, who have discussed it, who have researched it, who argued in Parliament, and who have been so concerned about preserving the judicial independence of India. It is a treat that you are going to have, an intellectual judicial treat.
Now, it's always a pleasure to address the Madras Bar, because it's not the Chennai High Court, it's still the Madras High Court. And the Madras High Court has a glorious tradition. We think of Justice Patanjali Shastri, Justice Venkatram Iyer, Chief Justice Raj Mannar, who was compared to our great Chief Justice from Bombay, Sri M.C. Chagla. And then we have great and distinguished members of the bar who have contributed to the Supreme Court and to the legal profession. I start with Vishwanath Shastri, and we have 2 very distinguished Attorney Generals from Madras. One of them is present here. Parasaran, please give him a big hand. And late G. Ramaswamy, who was a great friend, and when in the Supreme Court bar lobbies, he always entertained us with one joke in the morning.
How they went on legitimate expectation. The last stanza in the first judge's case, S.P. Gupta's case, Venkatramaya concludes by quoting a text. He says, let money come, wealth come or go, or let those who know justice criticize or praise. Let death come immediately or after yugas. But people who are involved in the administration of justice will expect nothing, no expectation. Adyaiva maranamavi yugantareva. Lakshmi samavasatu gacchatu vayate. This is what he says. There can be no legitimate expectation. A judge can never have an expectation, much less a legitimate expectation. Once he accepts the office, he is wedded to the oath. This is what Justice Gajendra Gadkar said in the presidential reference. That was one of the early cases where the executive and judiciary was in confrontation.
Judge should be independent of himself, his preconceptions, his predilections, his own personal philosophy when it comes to deciding a particular constitutional issue. The question was whether the Communist Party in Australia could be banned under the Constitution. I'm sure the judges were dead against communism. But when it came to deciding the question, they went by constitutional principles. That is judicial independence.
I qualified as a lawyer at the age of 17. When I applied, they suddenly confronted me with a rule which required that you should be 21 before you can be enrolled. So the first case which I argued in my career was my own case. I went to the Chief Justice of Sindh. I'm talking of the province of Sindh, which is no longer with us, it's now a part of Pakistan. I argued my own case and I told him, I said, sir, when my parents sent me to the law school, if they had been aware of this rule that I will not be able to support them for the next 3-4 years, they would never have made me a lawyer. How can you apply this law with retrospective effect when it did not exist when I joined the law college? It was passed only when the law college, when I was already in the law college. The Chief Justice says, young man, you have an excellent point to make. I won't give you an immediate relief, but I am giving some good advice to the Bar Council. So he advised the Bar Council to make an exception in the rules, that in suitable cases you will make an exception. Then he says, young man, now you apply under that exception. I did. I had no difficulty. I had a unanimous resolution of the Bar Council, but even they found one defect still. They said at the age of 17 you are a minor. Your contracts are void. So how can you be a lawyer? So they said, we will enroll you the moment you complete 18 years of age. Ladies and gentlemen, between 17 and 18, I was still a teacher of law, a lecturer in law in my law college.
In any case, as a wag used to say, that there are two types of dishonest people. The dishonest person is the person who takes your money and does not do your work. And the honest, dishonest person who will take your money and do your work. It is said that during the British regime, you had to bribe a public official for doing something that we have not his work, doing something that is against the law. Now you have to bribe a public official to do something which is his duty, which he is bound to do for you, and do something that is absolutely necessary in law. So what have we reduced ourselves? We have reduced into a corrupt society.
Despite this white paper, I think there was a view that the government was not serious. The political will was missing, and here is where I agree with Professor Arun Kumar and Justice Sri Krishna. Then comes a game changer. Ram Jethmalani files a petition in the Supreme Court of India which creates an SIT headed by two Supreme Court judges whose reputation is uncheckable. For the first time, action now seems to be taken against everybody, irrespective of high or low.
And remember, gentlemen, I have no conviction about this economic growth. I ridicule it at a personal level because it has killed our value systems. It has killed our family peace. It has killed several things. But don't clap. Our rulers have embraced this philosophy, saying that this ultimately gives happiness to each one of us. So you have embraced a philosophy for 25 years. What did you do? Government has partnered this investment. They allow you to bring this FDI with a red carpet. How? You have a Mauritius. Each one has a haven. India also has a haven. We have Mauritius. And remember, you can't by a stroke of a pen take the DTA from Mauritius. It's not possible. It is not financial compulsions. It is political compulsions. Beyond 6,000 kilometers of sea, the first neighbor we have today, a reliable neighbor, is Mauritius.
We spoke about this Prevention of Money Laundering Act. It almost looks like a special mantra which is going to suddenly bring about huge amounts of money back into this country. But I want you to look at the legislative history. The discussion started in 1998 because of a gentleman who is sitting here, Mr. Gurumurthy. And do you know, they actually found that it was such a complicated law, it was so difficult, that it needed 4 years to draft the bill. 4 long years. And when you see that law, actually that law will have to be laundered again to make some sense. It is called the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. And why did we pass it? Because of what our previous speakers mentioned, about G20. I like G because I have a name which begins with G, but I wouldn't like to be associated with either G8 or G20. Now, let me tell you something which you must know. I have read all these documents about black money, any number of reports. You have the World Bank report, you have Transparency International, you have financial integrity, global financial integrity, and their tables are good looking, some of them are blue in color, some of them red graphs. But I noticed one thing, that they all talk about only one table. The table is outflow of money from developing countries. I found it rather odd that does money actually flow only out of developing countries? Then where do they actually go into? We don't know those countries. The money which goes out from the developing countries actually go into the countries which we assume are small little islets, population is also not more than 2,000. There are a couple of post boxes, and one is called the British Virgin Islands. Some of them are inhabitable, but maybe if you take a ship, you could possibly open a company there with a post box if you put one inside the sand. But who controls this British Virgin Islands? The United Kingdom. Who controls the other set of islands? The United States. So who are the people who are receiving these monies? It is actually these two countries. That is why you actually say that the largest amount of money which is in Switzerland is really owed to these two countries. And no wonder Germany as well as France, they said, we want to just walk out of your G20.
We must talk about corruption in every field. We should not choose a particular field because there is nobody to defend himself here. We talk about greed. The entire economic model of the world today is based on what Maynard Keynes said in the year 1934. If you want the economy to survive and grow and progress, you have to become greedy and you have to shut down all the religious values which put restraint on greed. This is the basis on which the entire economic theory of today, the market economics works. We can't say we should not be greedy and work the same economics. So there is a contradiction between the economic theories, the development models about which Mr. Venkatraman spoke, and at the same time, we should say we should not be greedy. So it is a multi-dimensional problem.
The book Law and Dharma is Shastra University's humble tribute to the Pitamaha of the Indian Bar.
Lot of pressure was sought to be exercised, imperial pressure on Papinian, one of the juries. They were called prudentes. He declined. The message went from the royal quarters. Do you know the price you have to pay? He said, I know the price, but I can't sell my heritage for a mess of pottage. Take the price. And his head was chopped off. Please remember. Therefore, he is still remembered, till today remembered. Justice Khanna is still remembered because you stood up. Why they are remembered? Ekayeva sugrit dharmo nidane apyanuyati sarirena samam nasam sarvam anyatyu gacchati. Everything will perish. But you have walked on the path of dharma, it is immortal. This has been our concept. That is, I don't say Hindu concept, it's an Indian concept. We must be proud of our heritage. We are tolerant of all religions. That is, any number of anecdotes we have got in which we have tolerated all religions. A Christian, Muslim, a Hindu. We knew how to live together. Mr. Menon said, Dharmo rachati rachitaha, dharmo hanti hataha. Yato dharmas tato jataha is the Supreme Court. Satyam eva jayate is the High Court. Satyam and dharma, both are two eyes. There is no difference between them. Both are same. But conceptually it has been explained a lot, which I can't do now. But those both are eyes. Those two eyes alone give the vision of dharma. Not only those two eyes. Modiyilar kedu mudunul theriyum, vidiyilar kedu vilakku. You require language. Without language, you can't know Shastras. Shastra is not merely in Sanskrit. It is in Sanskrit, it is in Gujarati, it is in Bengali. We had a Kashmir Saivism, my lord may know it. Kashmir Saivism, somebody when I went to Kashmir for a case, I was presented with the book Saivism, which is Kashmir Saivism. We must learn everything. You may use them or not use them. The profundity of the knowledge will alone help. Only 4 who were role models. Bharadwaja for his knowledge, Baraspati for his wisdom, Vishwamitra for his activism, and Vidura for his nidhi. If that nidhi comes to be established, law will take care of itself. Thank you very much.